Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Nora Benavidez. I work at PEN America defending against disinformation. And this election season, we think that everyone has a role to play. So I'm thrilled to be here today with a colleague of mine, Ashley Bryant from AB Partners. She's also the co-founder of WinBlackPalante. Ashley, let's just dive in. I want to know, why did you create WinBlackPalante?
Voter suppression has been a tactic against Black and brown voters for decades. We knew that it was important to create a rapid content operation and a model that can actually be replicated for election cycles, but really just for elections over time. And so we are working diligently and have been since the last 9-10 months of monitoring disinformation and also doing message testing and analysis to really think about the messages that are resonant to Black and Latinx voters, and working around the clock to make sure that we're vigilant to combat what we're seeing across the board.
Disinformation, misinformation, I think they can feel like somehow abstract terms.
There's a difference between misinformation, which is something that is not intentionally put out there, but disinformation has an intent. It is actually to disinform folks. And this is really why I talk about this as a threat to our democracy. This is literally another way to silence the typically marginalized or disenfranchised communities, which are often us Black and brown folks. We're seeing this disinformation even coming from top leaders. And so that's really disheartening, because a lot of folks are becoming even more deeply cynical around this. They don't know where to go to get the right truthful information, even around COVID. So this isn't just about voting. I mean, this is really about making sure that folks are educated across the board.
Oh, I'm so glad that you mentioned that there is this much bigger context, that disinformation is affecting us all the time, not just in the lead up to the election. And so I'm curious then, how is disinformation targeting Black and Latino people?
Sure. What we've seen is even going so far as having coordinated activity of groups that are pretending to be Black activists or even Latinx activists on social platforms. They are using cultural relevant language, cultural relevant issues to deepen relationships with Black and Latinx voters. And so they then use the relationship that they've built to actually depress voters and say, you know what? It's not worth our time. Let's not show up. A lot of the time, these are these foreign agents or bad actors that have spent the time to create these groups and amass a large number of followings. There's even fake, news outlets and media accounts.
I hear a lot about flooding the zone, and it often seems like a bad thing. It seems like it's a disinformation tactic where bad actors push out content to confuse or overwhelm voters. But I've heard a little bit about the war room that you guys have with WinBlackPalante, and I want you to talk about it. Would you, you're doing something kind of similar in terms of flooding the zone, and it's almost like a counter strategy. Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. And, they can try and flood the zone, but we're going to do it better. So we've built a model with really our secret sauce is we have built a grassroots network of over 400 folks representing grassroots organization across 15 different states. And what we're doing is we're monitoring every single day in our war room the threat analysis, this misinfo and disinfo that we're seeing bubbling up in the digital sphere here. And we're building and producing content that is actually going to counter these messages.
Well, I want to know, is there anything else for viewers here to know about so they can get engaged?
Absolutely. I mean, I talked about, disseminating this content through our grassroots partners, but we've actually made a free online resource of the message tested content that we know is actually going to move voters. And so anyone can access our content library at winblack.org, and you are free to use that content to help mobilize friends and families and really be a part of counteracting the disinformation that we're seeing.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. And if you want to continue fighting against disinformation, join us at pen.org.